Hello and welcome to Behind the Screen, a show on the Iconic Production channel. I am JM, your host, your person who will be chatting with you for the next half hour. Hope everyone is doing well. Padre, good to see you first thing right off the bat in the morning. Now, we are back to game design talk on Tuesday, so we're going to be looking at the Lukoraji, a monster in Jackals that we're developing, and we've got one more monster to develop after this, the Hollow Children, and then we're going to be heading over to looking at the Hollow Children, which are going to be the really creepy remnants of things that have been consumed in Ekiazaro, and then we're going to get right into dungeon design and kind of talk about set pieces and how you lay out dungeons, and just, again, the goal of this show is to just walk through kind of my creative process, and hopefully that's helpful to other people. It's always good to interact with the chat, see what they say, and kind of delve into that. So before I go into that, just a couple of things. There was a miscommunication last week. We are going to be doing Torg tonight. So if you are a fan of Torg and are following the Ulysses International channel, we'll be going live at 7:30 tonight. Starting off our big Istanbul campaign for year one in Torg. Again, that's on the Ulysses International channel. And on Thursday on Behind the Screen, I believe we're going to do a after action report. Every 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to catch you guys up on my Jackals game, kind of talk about what I've learned, what we're focused on. It's a weird week this week. My son's on spring break, so I'm taking a lot of time off. We're playing some Ruin Masters. I'm teaching him Battletech. It's just been a lot of fun. And then Saturday morning, we're doing our episode on the Mastali on exploring Glorantha, which is the dwarves of Glorantha, which will be a lot of fun. Obviously, Evan and I enjoy talking about all these things. So just a preview of the week on Iconic Production or on the channels that Iconic is affiliated with. So let's just jump right into it, because I've had 2 cups of coffee and I am ready to go. So last week we discussed the Lukoraji, the myth of the Lukoraji. Yes, Rook, mecha are always delightful. I got to just on a side note, I'll post some pictures on the Iconic Discord. My son Zane finally he painted his first mech, and so he painted a Wolverine and I painted a Griffin, and it's been just a lot of fun. So, last week we kind of discussed. See if I can get this in a better position with the chat window. There we go. I'm trying to cut back, Rook. So we discussed that the Lukoraji are the children of Ajax, or the spiritual children of Ajax, this semi-divine hero of Melkoni myth and legend, who was tricked by a Cyclops into consuming the flesh of his own family, and was therefore cursed by Eraton and cursed into a wolf shape kind of going forward. And so we came up with the idea that the Lukoraji are going to be like this combination of Wendigo spirits, lycanthropy, and then sort of the idea of a curse made manifest in the flesh. It's gonna be cannibalism. They're gonna have a growing need for more flesh. They grow stronger and faster and tougher, and then they eventually kind of turn. So we're only going to focus on kind of the late stage Lukoraji. I may come up with some talents or some other effects that GMs can use or lore masters can use to indicate NPCs that are at the earlier stages of the Lukoraji curse. Oh, Padre, that's a shame. Your coffee maker broke. I apologize. That is we'll have a moment of silence on the stream for Padre's coffee maker. But you're right, French press is amazing. Hey, Phantom, good to see you, bud. So what we've kind of established is that they are larger than normal wolves. They're immune to non-magical bronze. They are unaging, and they're sort of this spirit flesh hybrid. And the term I'm using is Rook, you can always feel free to add. Yeah, Luke Guru has some great lore in it. So we're looking at this idea of, kind of spirit flesh hybrid. Demonosis is kind of what I called it, which is sort of a catch. I think it's actually a word that a podcast that I listened to made up, but kind of the idea that instead of traveling towards the divine, you are descending down into and participating in kind of with the Rathic of Zaharetz. Yeah, Wendigo. This is kind of where I'm leaning into with this. So, all right, let's get into it. So I've got wolf stats. I will probably for next week kind of pre-load the combat ranges, and then we'll as the chat kind of interact and chat and see kind of what we think needs to be bumped up. But let's focus on the top half of the stat block. So in case you are unfamiliar with Jackals, Jackals has 2 parts to every stat block for monsters. The top half of the stat block is where do you find these things? What type of creature are they? You know, what are their base skills? So in Jackals, there are a ton of skills on the PC side, but all monsters only have 5 skills. They know how to defend themselves. They know how to attack other people. They have a general knowledge, what they know about the world. They're urban, or they're kind of sneaky, thievish skills, and then kind of the common skills, and these kind of relate to the categories of Jackals. They have wounds. How many hit points do they have? Protection, how much do they reduce damage-wise going forward? How fast can they move? How fast can they react? How much treasure do they have? And kind of in general, what level of treasure and corruption do these creatures possess? So let's just kind of talk through this and see what we get. So I have this, we have several different types of creatures in Jackals, and this is weird because they don't really fit into the beast category, nor do they really fit into the Rathic or spirit category. So we've got to come up with something new. So I'm going to call these ones monstrous, or no, let's make a whole new category. Let's call these cursed beings, because there are a lot of creatures that would fall under this category. And again, they appear in the Valley of Troikas, which is this. Let me see if I can add this in real quick. Now we're getting maybe some next level JM messing with OBS as we're doing this. So there is a great YouTube channel, a gentleman by the name of Dungeon Muser. You can find his YouTube channel. He does actual plays. He does a lot of what else does he do? What else does Dungeon Muser do? He does RPG reviews. He talks about a bunch of different gaming topics, and I watched a bunch of his actual plays just for years, and he did a review of Jackals. I turned him on one Sunday just to, sit back and relax and enjoy some streamed content in the afternoon. And lo and behold, he is running Jackals, and I essentially lost my mind, as you may imagine. And he produced a map of Jackals that he uses, which is just beautiful. So Kevin, thank you so much for this. And he sent it to me. He sent me a physical copy. It was wonderful. So this is the Zaharetz as kind of re-envisioned by him. I think he said he was using the style of kind of the old Dark Sun maps. We'll put a link in the show notes to Kevin's channel. And so the game that I'm running, and this is where I'm kind of setting this. This is the Valley of Troikas, kind of up here in the upper. For you guys, the upper left side of the screen. Kind of north of the sea, and the mountain ranges there, the Vorivana, that's where we're going to actually find Ekiazaru when we get to it. So just kind of showing that off. Again, thanks to Kevin for putting that together for me. So we have Cursed Beings, the Valley of Troikas. So in general, monster skills are rated between about 30 and 90. In Jackals, 91 or above fails, and anything over 100 means they get specialized bonuses. And so I'm kind of thinking that these creatures are insanely tough. The goal of these creatures is not to make a monster that will shred an enemy. They're not going to be high damage, but they're going to be incredibly hard to kill, right? Because this curse kind of prevents them from dying. So it's one of the reasons they have this transgressive consumption theme, is the fact that while the curse won't let them die, they need to consume human flesh in order to allow their bodies to regrow and regenerate. So that I think is going to be something we're going to lean into when we go into this. So I'm actually thinking that I'm going to make their defense 100%. So what this means mechanically is that the GM is going to get to assign a talent from one of the defense categories to every Lukoraji pack that they do. So the idea will be like these grouping of Lukoraji will all have the same talents. So that may mean that they can run faster. They can. There's a list of talents in the book, and I may like we did with the. If you went to my blog, Origins of a Dark God, you will see that I made a couple of talent paths for the Kashaptu, and I may do that for the Lukoraji. Combat, I want them to be not a threat for starting creatures or starting Jackals. I want them to be a threat that kind of, after Jackals have several adventures under their belts. So let's put this at 70%. Yes, Phantom. Like this is like right. This is sort of kind of like the Grendel thing. Now, I should do a review, and I need to read through it, but I'm sorry, I'm going to totally divert here. I know we have a lot of people who... a pack of talent packs. Yes, that is what I'm going to plan on doing for that Padre. I'm currently reading through, and I know we have a lot of fans of 5th edition D&D who show up to both our streams and to behind the screens. And Handicraft Games, if you are unfamiliar with them, they just John Hodgson is the guy behind it. He did all of the art for the One Ring 1st edition, or a lot of the art. He was kind of one of the art directors. His company just put out a Beowulf 5th edition book, and I have the PDFs. And what's interesting about this version of 5e is it's tuned in for one-on-one gaming. The goal of Beowulf is one GM, the kind of the saga teller, and one hero, the hero who goes out and does the things that the sagas remember. I'm currently reading through it. If that's something that the patrons want me to review, I would love to talk about it, because I'm a massive Beowulf fan. Not necessarily Haney's version, although it is good to listen to. Maybe we'll talk about that at some other point. But anyway, Phantom, you know how to get me distracted. I appreciate that. Yeah, Beowulf's amazing, Padre. I don't know if you have read it, but Tolkien's Beowulf is wonderful, and it also includes all of his like class notes. Christopher Tolkien put that together, so it's a prose version of Beowulf that still tries to retain the alliterative nature of the original like Old English poem. It also includes the Selic Spell, which is the version of Beowulf, like the poem that he wrote to give to his children and read to his children. But it's got all of his class notes as well, and mine's heavily annotated because I have a friend who is one of the co-hosts on the Grand Campaign, who basically did his master's in philology and had a lot of classes on Beowulf, and we would just sit around and he would I would ask him questions and be able to notate in my book. So we have 100% in defense. We have 70% in combat. Now remember, in Jackals, that means that 1 to 70 is possibly a success for a Lukoraji. So that means that we're going to have to break out the range bands, and we'll look at that next Tuesday. Knowledge is things like healing, lore, that sort of thing. And I kind of want these guys to have enough knowledge to be scary, right? These are creatures that have lived a while. These are creatures that were powerful, right? We never see in these stories that it's like random guy in a red shirt starts cannibalism and becomes cursed by the gods. It's always someone important. It's always somebody who has enough knowledge that they should know better. Right? One of my favorite lines from Oedipus is, how terrible is wisdom when it brings no profit to the wise. And I think that's right. Hubris is one of the main themes of Greek tragedies, and also one of the main themes of the Melkoni people in Jackals. As for urban, I do think that these creatures are going to be they're going to be fairly stealthy, and we're going to give them a 70% in common knowledge. Now, these are just benchmarks for the lore master to kind of go, how should I play these creatures? Now, we're going to come up with a special ability here at the end that I've been noodling. But wounds, we're going to set these at we're going to start these off at 40. So these are pretty tough creatures already off the bat, and we're actually only going to set their protection to let's set it to 3. So that's natural armor, but we're going to star it so that we can see it below. Now, so here's the thing: they're wolves. They're not insanely tough to beat. However, we're saying that these creatures have some sort of magical protection or innate ability to ignore weapons. I'm also sort of leaning into a little bit. It's all one giant synergistic sphere in my brain. Right, there's a lot of the Telmori kind of in these things, and the Telmori are a clan in Glorantha who are cursed by chaos to basically take the shape of wolves, but they learn to control it themselves. I think they're cursed by Nicelor. It's been a while since I looked at the Telmori, but they're immune to non-magical weapons. So we're kind of getting some of that. All of these vibes are sort of being stirred together in my head when I make these. Move, they're fast. They're going to be able to move 15, and we're actually going to set their initiative to about 14. So that means on average, the average Jackal, I think, has somewhere between 10 and 13 initiative plus a d6. So at 14, on average, these creatures are fast. They're going to go first. Now, clash points, and I don't know that I've ever discussed this in like my thinking behind this online, but clash points are a measure. You know how in F20 games you have things like challenge rating? You have, in my favorite F20 games, 13th Age and Pathfinder 2, they make it really simple to figure out challenge rating. I think 13th Age's challenge rating is 1 on-level monster per PC is the base challenge rating, which I just think is very well done design math for the GM. Pathfinder gets a little bit more wibbly wobbly in Pathfinder 2, but in general, right, monsters on level cost so much, and then it's like a range band. What I like about that is it makes it very easy for the GM to take lower or higher level monsters and see where they would fit in relationship to the group of PCs. So clash points are kind of my CR. So one, they tell you how often a creature can react, how many points they contribute to the monster's clash pool, but also they tell you, on average, how dangerous the monster is. The higher the clash points, the more PCs they are meant to be able to counter or interact with. So in general, something with a clash point of 1 to 1 PC. A clash point of 3 or 4, right? Now you're looking at 1 to maybe a pack of low-level Jackals, or 2 or 3 to a larger pack of Jackals. And so I think for me right now, it feels like 3 clash points for these creatures makes sense. Treasure score. These guys are not going to have a high treasure score. I'm going to set this at 2 because here's the thing. They're beasts in the forest. Maybe they have, they're still intelligent enough to have a lair that may have something. So in Jackals, there are rules for if you come across a lair, how to increase the treasure amount. But in general, you don't expect wolves to be wearing magic armor or wielding a spear and magic helmet, as one great opera singer once sang about. And then corruption, these guys are pretty corrupt, right? The whole point is that they have transgressed against the laws of heaven and have consumed flesh and have therefore been cursed by them. And so actually 12 feels like a better stat. All right, any thoughts on these creatures so far, chat? Or should we just keep moving to the special abilities, which are the real meaty good parts of this so far? Oh, man, I love coffee. All right, so we're going to say that they're Inured to darkness, they have dark vision, essentially. We're going to say that they have, we're going to call it cursed flesh. And so essentially what we're going to say is, let me get my notes right. We're going to say that the Lukoraji, I do not want bold, thank you. I do not want bold. All right, we're just going to go with it. Apparently, I cannot get this to do what I want. Lukoraji are immune to non-magical weapons. They negate all damage, but not the damage bonus from non-magical bronze weapons. All right, so this may seem like a weird distinction, but non-magical. So in Jackals, you have the damage from your weapon. You have the damage from just your raw physical strength. That's the key here. If you're attacking with a bronze weapon, all you're going to need to do is the damage based off your damage bonus. So I like the idea of, say, Hercules wrestling one of these things to the ground. You can't pierce its flesh, but you can crush it. So that's where we're going with this. Also, if you have a wooden weapon, if you're, say, like a Hashir who's wielding a staff, or you have found the rare iron weapon in Jackals, which are really far, a little bit farther north, is where there's a lot of iron. So like the Sanaean culture or the Scythian analog, they're going to have a lot of, not a lot of, but they're going to have more iron. That'll break through this defense. So wooden weapons are a way to attack these creatures, or just raw physical strength. And then I want some sort of consumption ability here. And so what I'm pondering is that, one, they're going to be able to track the any creature they've inflicted a wound upon. This curse is going to force them to continually try to come back and finish the job. That essentially that first taste becomes an addiction for the Lukoraji. The other thing I think I want to do is I want to say something like every 10 wounds that the Lukoraji inflict, they get a bonus. So unlike the Kashaptu, who every time they attack, there's a chance they steal something from you. This is going to be related to how much flesh has the Lukoraji consumed. And then the last thing that we're gonna want to do, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to work this up next week, kind of present it at the start of next Tuesday's chat. We can kind of discuss it as a group, see what we think, and then we'll get into the range bands. But the other thing I want to do is I want to come up with a way to break the curse. That there may be some way in the Malconi rites to break this curse. I'm not sure what that is. Like, how do you undo the idea of transgressive consumption, or the idea that, hey, as we, essentially you are what you eat. So I'm pondering that, and the other thing I'm pondering is, does this, and let's just do a quick poll in the chat. Is this a curse that can be transmitted? Right? Wendigo is definitely something that can be transmitted. Kind of in our modern F20 game design, lycanthropy is a curse that can be transmitted. Is this something that should be transmittable, or is this something that really relies on this act of transgressive consumption? So that's sort of what I'm kind of pondering here. But I'm going to get all of those worked up. We'll share it. And then again, when this monster's done, I'm going to put it for free up on Origins of Dark Gods, so that anyone running Jackals can just have more monsters. So, yeah, thanks for joining me as we kind of work through the Lukoraji. I'm really looking forward to getting into Ekiazaru here. We may skip the hollow ones and jump into Ekiazaru after we finish the Lukoraji. And one thing I really want to do is put a little bit of the chat into this dungeon that I'm doing. So if you have cool ideas, if you want something named after you, if you've got like a name that you really like, I would love to kind of put this in for my players to find. All right, so Phantom, I think I'm with you. I think this needs to be an active curse, not just something that you can contract out in the wild. So when I come up with the rules for the consumption, when I come up with the rules for the rest of the special abilities, I will definitely keep that in mind. I appreciate it. So, thank you all for joining us for another episode of Behind the Screen. We'll be back with an after-action report on the Jackals campaign on Thursday. And again, please check out all the other great shows that we do on the Iconic Production channel. This week is packed full of Iconic Production goodness. We are doing, let me switch over here. We are doing Torg tonight on the Ulysses International channel, which I am really excited about. We're doing Behind the Screen again on Thursday. We're doing Exploring Glorantha on Saturday, which will be our episode on the dwarves, the Mistali, as I said before. And then Sunday night will be our first live episode of Season 6 of the Iconic Podcast, where we're going to explain what Gumshoe is and why we're excited for doing an entire season on Gumshoe. So thank you to everybody who has subscribed. Thank you to Rook for his continual generosity. It's always good to see you. Thank you to Phantom and Padre for jumping on and chatting with me about this. Phantom, great point. If it's transmissible, then you need to balance it against how infectious and population bloom, and I don't want to do that. So I think we have arrived at our answer. If you like the show, if you like what we do on the Iconic Production channel, please consider subscribing here on Twitch, following us here on Twitch, subscribing on YouTube, liking videos on YouTube. Again, it's how we get the word out to the YouTube algorithm that people are enjoying the content we're putting out. If you put a comment on any of the videos, know that I look at them multiple times a week, and I love interacting with people both here and on YouTube. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. I will see most of you hopefully tonight for the kickoff of the Torg campaign. And if not, I will see you again when we step behind the screen. Have a good one.